All right, sports fans, how's everybody out there doing? William Martin coming at you one more time here on YouTube with another edition of the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge Podcast. Now, what a difference that a year has made for the Detroit Pistons. At 29 and 26 right now, the Pistons have already more than doubled their win total from a year ago. And right now, they're on a cusp of surpassing their win total for the last two seasons combined. It has been a new day for this Pistons team under head coach JB Bickerstaff. Just in year number one, you see the turnaround that Bickerstaff has been able to help create in the Motor City. And of course, he was unceremoniously let go after what he had done with the Cleveland Cavaliers, got them out of the pits of futility in the Eastern Conference, made that helped to make them a contender in the Eastern Conference, and now he is showing that that was absolutely no fluke with what he has been able to do with the Pistons, and for the very first time in a very long time, this team is competing and this team is showing a lot of fight. They're showing a lot of spirit. They're showing a lot of grit. And it's like I've talked about it before in the past, and it's been unfortunate for the Pistons organization. I mean, listen, every organization, has their ups and downs. Some teams have more ups and downs. Some teams have more downs than ups. But unfortunately for the Pistons, they've been down in the dumps for quite some time. We're talking about a team since 2009, they've only made the playoffs twice. Okay, they have not made the playoffs since 2019. They haven't gotten out of the first round of the playoffs since 2008, and they haven't even won a playoff game since 2008 either. But this team is a little bit different. And of course, last year, if you're a Pistons fan, was probably the worst of the worst. We saw this team win 14 games. They struggled to win 10 games. They had that 28 game losing streak. But guess what? All of that right now is a thing of the past. And we saw Detroit get off to another slow start this season. They lost their first four games, but they have continued to scrap. And now we're talking about the Pistons being sixth in the Eastern Conference. And that's important because if the regular season were to end today, not only would the Pistons be a playoff team, but we wouldn't even be talking about them in that play-in tournament. And since Detroit's 9 and 15 start, they're 20 and 11 in their last 31 games. And I think a credit to that is the fact that the Pistons show up each and every night. They compete, and more importantly, they're beating the teams that they are supposed to beat. And I mean, I said this before, and I'll address it now. I talked about this last season. Okay, I was wrong about Cade Cunningham, and I have no problems admitting that. I thought he was a guy who couldn't stay healthy. I thought he wasn't worthy of being like the top pick at the time. But you look at it, and this young man has come into his own this season. He's averaging more than 25 points. His first All-Star game appearance. And like I said, it was well deserved. Things are, like I said, they're coming together for this team after so many futile seasons. And we've seen so many different head coaches, named head coaches, that were unable to get things turned around for the Pistons. And it looks like JB Bickerstaff is finally the guy who is going to get it done. Barring something unforeseen, in my opinion, the Pistons will be a playoff team at season's end. And I think that's going to be so great for the basketball fans and the sports fans of Detroit. I mean, we've seen a renaissance, if you will, in the Motor City. You look at the Lions in the NFL and how they've become competitors. You look at the Red Wings, how they've gotten it turned around. And I guess the Tigers are next. But nonetheless, you're talking about the Detroit Pistons. They're right there. And I think a playoff berth would really spark the basketball fans of that great city. And on top of that, it will get the juices flowing for this organization as a whole. And like I said, the Pistons, I'm going to give them more than a puncher's chance to be a postseason team at season's end. Why? Because they show up every night and they compete. And then on top of that, for the most part, they've been beating the teams that they're supposed to beat. And it started, believe it or not, with that win over the Knicks back in December. And of course, it was one of those not too many people thought about it at the time. But hey, listen, that to me, I think has been a catalyst for this Pistons team. They've beaten the Knicks twice, including that contest right there, and they just continue to build off of that momentum. We saw what they did earlier this week to the Chicago Bulls. They beat them by 40. We're up by I think close to 50 points at one point in that game, and then they turned around last night once again in Chicago for the second consecutive night, and they took care of the Bulls by double figures, and that's important because the Bulls are in contention for that play-in spot, well, one of those play-in spots. So if you are the Pistons, and like I said, if you can continue to take care of your business against the teams behind you, okay, and distance yourselves a little bit further from that pack as far as teams that are looking to contend for that play-in, that's going to help your chances as far as making the postseason. And like I said, it will be a huge shot in the arm for this organization. Talked about Cade Cunningham getting his first All-Star game selection this year. JB Bickerstaff definitely needs a lot of attention as far as being the NBA's coach of the year. You're talking about the job that he has done here. And I think finally people should start giving him more credit for what he is able to do as a head coach. I thought he did a darn good job in Cleveland. Unfortunately, they let him go in spite of the fact that the Cavs went 51-31 last year. Pardon me, 48-34 last year, and they lost in the conference semis. But nonetheless, he has this Pistons team believing, and not only do they have the potential to make the playoffs this year, we could be talking about the Pistons with their first winning season for the first time since 2016. And I think that is a huge credit to what JB Bickerstaff has been doing. At this point, I feel like the Pistons are going to continue to play this season with house money because with what we have seen from them right now, I don't think anybody expected it. And I could say this, I don't think that they went in there with a mindset saying, hey, let's just try to improve off of last season and maybe win 20 games. No, but I don't think anybody thought it was going to be turned around so quickly. We're not even at the All-Star break yet, and the Pistons have already more than doubled their win total from a season ago. Huge difference. It's a culture change around this organization. And like I said, guys are leaving it out on the floor each and every night. Like I said before, they're playing with house money. So at this point, I think the Pistons have what it takes to keep that momentum going. I think that they have what it takes to get to the playoffs. And like I said, this team is playing with house money. And anytime you got a squad that's playing with house money, any and everything can happen. But folks, that is going to wrap it up. And as always, I want to take this time out to thank each and every one of you for tuning into the 300 Pounds of Sports Knowledge podcast here on YouTube. I want to take this time out to thank all of you fine folks out there for tuning in. And if you haven't already, please feel free to subscribe to this channel. Now, if you're on the X, formerly known as Twitter, please feel free to follow me at 300 Pounds of Sports. And like I always say, if you follow me, it'll be my pleasure to follow you right back. There's also the sports discussion group on Facebook at the Sports Depot 365. Now, you can check it out. Drop a line and be a part of one of the better sports debating sites going on social media. So once again, fine folks, my name is William Martin, and I am signing off. And I'm saying take care and have yourselves a wonderful day.